I will switch on the record.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn session with Kate Ginnivan today. Storytelling for startups. Leverage the power of story to build your brand. Kate is founder of Silver Pen Writing Studio, specializing in communications. Kate helps businesses to embed powerful messaging strategies so they can scale with clear and targeted brand stories. Kate will elaborate on her role in more depth during the workshop, but for now, let's give Kate a warm welcome and kick off today's Lunch and Learn session on storytelling with startups. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you, David. Hello, everybody. I want to start with a blanket apology. I have a porpoise bark thing happening at the moment. I did warn David it's not COVID, and obviously it's not able to be transmitted through the screen, but occasionally I may have to hit the mute button to go and have a coughing attack. So apologies for that. Today's setup is I'm going to talk pretty quickly for about 45 minutes, and I would encourage you to take down any questions that you have or anything you'd like me to clarify, because at the end, hopefully we have 15 minutes or so for me to field questions. So this recording will also be available on replay if you so choose to have a look at it. But yeah, there is a lot to get through, so I'm just going to get cracking. So the emphasis I'm going to make today is that storytelling matters more than any product or service you are selling. And as a writer, I'm obviously very biased, but if you are wanting to convince people that your brand is the brand of choice for whatever industry you are in, then the easiest way to do that is to create captivating, memorable, and engaging stories for them to connect with you and your brand. So today we're going to walk through the what, how, and why of storytelling. And I'm going to show you some strategies you can use to clarify your messaging and make it really clear. Sorry, I'm just going to ask people to mute because I just heard a horse race in a foreign language then. That was interesting. Okay, so I'm going to be talking you through why your story matters, how you can captivate the attention of your ideal client, and the focus here is on determining who your dream client is, why you want to work with them, how you're going to serve them, and also differentiating between your story as an individual and your story as a brand, because obviously you should be the hero in your own story. If you're not the hero in your own story, Houston, we have a friggin' problem here. However, if you are developing a story for your brand, you need to make the customer the hero of that story. So I'll be talking you through how we can do that today. I'm just going to, righto. I want to start with the numbers that are a little bit terrifying, but also really important to give you a context for developing a meaningful and a memorable brand, regardless of what industry your startup serves. So I've used this image here of a rodeo rider or rodeo rider, depending on what part of the world you're in, will impact your pronunciation of that term, obviously. But to be a mad, awesome bull rider, you have to stay on that bull for 8 seconds. And that same number applies to a website, that the average visitor to a website will make a decision within 8 seconds whether they are going to do business with you or whether they are going to disappear and never return ever again. So how you use those 8 seconds and what message you convey in that very short time frame influences whether you are leaving money on the table or whether people are going to be coming back to you to do repeat business. The average consumer of any age demographic in the world spends 7 hours per day interacting on the internet. So the implications for businesses is that we need to be present in a way that grabs attention. And it's becoming increasingly more difficult, obviously, with the rise of TikTok and the demise of Facebook, and also written content, that people don't want written content as much as they want video messages. They want to be able to access information in bite-sized chunks, really short 90-second windows now. Also be aware, 92% of people who turn up on a web page for the first time are not there to purchase that first time. They're simply there to peruse, to visit, to suss out if these are the products or services that they actually want to buy. And that's why it's really important that on your website, you have something that they can do, an action that they can take, a call to action, a CTA, as it's called, that you have a CTA front and center of your website so they can engage with you and come back for a second visit and then either buy your products or services or engage with you in a more meaningful way. Contextually, it's important to be aware that 44% of Australians really struggle with literacy. And so that means that they have limitations when it comes to reading, writing, speaking, listening, communicating in a professional forum. So that obviously impacts the way that we use language on our websites, regardless of what our products or services are, because we've got to be able to communicate in a language that our ideal client understands. So being aware of the limitations of literacy is really, really integral to scaling your business. The last numbers of relevance here. In Australia, there are 2.4 million businesses. 2.2 million of those are small businesses. The startling statistic is that 59% of those businesses do not have a functional website. So there are broken links, there are pages that read 404 error, there are missed opportunities to convert browsers into subscribers, clients, or meaningful relationships and networks. So these are the numbers that you might want to have in your head as we go along, just so that you can understand how we can leverage this with the power of story. Okay, so the easiest way we can use story is to transition from everyday same, lost in the crowd of everybody who's selling the same product or service in your industry, to being seen as iconic. Story makes that feasible. And I use the example here of Walter White from Breaking Bad. I'm obsessed with Breaking Bad, have been for a very long time. I literally took myself to Albuquerque on a road trip in 2014 just because I wanted to see where Walter was hanging out. Yeah, I'm that girl. But the reason being is because Vince Gilligan, who created this show, he used Shakespearean story arcs and character development to create a truly iconic character that is incredibly memorable. So most brands fall into the first category of, sorry, who are you again? If you show up in an inbox in a person, if you've got someone's email address and you show up once a month, they're not going to remember who you are because you are not consistently on their radar. On the other hand, if you can capture their attention in a way that shows, hey, I know what I'm talking about, but also what I have to say and how I can help you is interesting or unique, or it's a little bit different to everybody else in the same niche, you're going to be able to capture their attention. So in this particular scene from Breaking Bad, Walter White's alter ego, his name is Heisenberg, and he's standing in the desert and he's staring down his enemy. His enemy's all quaking in his boots and getting really uncomfortable. And Walter White demands, say my name. And the enemy's like, I don't want to, and getting really uncomfortable. And he repeats, say my name. And he says it quite aggressively, and I can't obviously emulate that. And then the squirrely little enemy's like, okay, you're Heisenberg. I know who you are. And instead of going, oh yeah, that's my name, you know who I am, which would be the standard response of somebody that's same, Walter White goes, you're goddamn right I am, like that. And he's badass, okay? And I'm not telling you you have to be bad. I'm telling you have to be badass. You have to stand out from the crowd. You have to do something, say something that is going to repel people that are not in your niche, that are not for you, and make people that are your crowd, your ideal dream clients, make them go, I want to work with this person. The thing that made me make the jump from being in education for 20 years to setting up my own business when I'd never been in business before. I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a crack at this. Was I used the word dude in a meeting with very old ladies. I was hanging out with very pearl clutchers. They're pearl clutcher ladies. And it's the end of the day, and I had my mask on the whole time of, yes, I can behave in a corporate environment. And I was like, dude, that's such a great idea. And the nanas like full clutched at their pearls and lost their mind. And I had this moment, I was just realized these are not my people. Why am I trying so hard to fit in with these people when they don't want me in the gang and I don't want to be part of this gang? I don't want to be in the nana gang. So I had to pivot. And I'm encouraging you to be really, really aware of who you're trying to target, because that makes all the difference to your messaging. The story that you are going to share has to resonate with the people that you want to interact with. So be aware of the language you use and how that captures the attention of the right people and repels everybody else. Being divisive is not a bad thing. It's actually good. So I'm encouraging you to not break bad, but be a badass. All right, easiest way to use story in your brand to create and leverage connections is to have consistency with your story. So it's really important to sit down and actually identify who is my ideal client, what message am I going to convey to them, what is their biggest pain point, and how do I solve it? Like, how am I going to help them? Because when you are aware of those things, you can position yourself in a way that makes you have the know, like, and trust factor. So if you are producing content and stories that make you sound like you know what you're talking about, that make you likable, that make you trustworthy, people want to give you their money. They want to work with you if you are able to show consistency and that you know what you're talking about. Also, be aware of the importance of targeted and consistent messaging. If you are, you flitter about from 7 different social media platforms, you might go, oh, this week I'm going to be all over LinkedIn. I'm going to do 7 posts a day on LinkedIn for 1 week. Cool story, bro. That doesn't achieve anything, because if the next week you jump over to Instagram and you're just going to try out a few Instagram reels, and the week after you're on TikTok, people don't know where you're showing up. So this is why setting up a content schedule and picking one platform, one audience, one mode of communicating with them at the same time every week, they know where you are, and so they can engage with you in a meaningful way. So targeted and consistent use of content on one forum is the game changer. It doesn't matter which forum it happens to be. Some people love Facebook. It's not great for business in terms of making conversions. Some people love LinkedIn. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing on LinkedIn. So you've just got to be able to figure out which platform you're going to be on and stay there consistently. The next one is to produce content that is demonstrative of your radical empathy. Okay, so in other words, you have to be able to produce content that people find valuable and that they can relate to. They can see their own story in your story as well. So if they can go, oh, yeah, that sounds like me. Oh, that's like what happened to me. They are going to connect with your content. So literacy experts have identified that there's 3 types of connections that anyone can make with a text, okay? So text to text, text to self, text to world. So as an example, if I am watching Dharma on Dharma on Netflix, straight away, I go text to self. Oh, this reminds me of the time I went on a first date with a guy I was convinced was a serial killer, okay? So I connect with the TV show based on personal experience. The next level up is text to text. Oh, this reminds me of the doco, the Ted Bundy tapes. How trippy was that? And then I start thinking about all the serial killers that I've read about in the past. So I'm thinking about other texts as well. And then the third one is text to world. Oh, this makes me feel like I am unsafe in my world, so I'm just going to stay in my house. Okay, so leveraging connections to build meaningful relationships with your ideal client is the easiest way to be able to build a community that is worthwhile and that keeps coming back and does repeat business with you. The final infographic on this particular slide I want to talk about is call to action buttons. So CTAs, it's giving somebody something to do. So if a website visitor lands on your webpage, for example, and they go, oh, that's a cute little headline and nice story, but they have nothing to do, that you haven't told them, click this link to watch this cool video, click this to sign up to my newsletter, click this to check out our best Instagram feed for the last week. They've got nothing to do, so they go away. But having a CTA button gets them to come back, okay? Because once you've got their email address, you can show up in their inbox. And Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those platforms don't own that data, you do. So getting the email address is key. Okay, shifting a little bit now to look at the psychology of consumers, irrespective of the industry that they happen to be in. And this applies to you as well. As a consumer, you buy for three reasons. You buy based on emotion, you buy based on a desire or a want, or you buy out of necessity. You need it, okay? The hot water system's blown up. It's a necessity, I get a new one, rather than, oh, I'd really like a good hot water system. Like, it's a necessity. So it's hierarchical. You buy firstly out of emotion. That's why you should never go to the supermarket when you're hungry, because you buy all of the lolly aisles. You buy out of a desire. I want that because that will show my status, or that will mean that I've made it in the world, or I need to buy this. Now, with that in mind, there are 4 key things that universally stress people out. And if you can leverage this, you can use it to your advantage in your business. So the thing that stresses people the most is time. I don't have enough time. I can't make the time. Time is running out, okay? We have this metaphorical clock hanging over our head, or biological clock. If you're a woman, you want to have babies. I'm going to cough. Sorry there, I couldn't find the mute key. Oh dear, hang on. Barking porpoise. Okay, so the time is a stress that you can use, and big brands use it all the time. Limited time offer creates urgency. So people go, oh, if I don't buy this today, I'm going to miss out. I better buy it, okay? So when there's sales, Black Friday, Boxing Day sales, end of financial year sales, they use time, they use that stress to create urgency. The other, sorry. Oh, apologies. The second one is money. People stress about money. They're always worried about money. So if you can give them an incentive that they'll get a discount if they're an early bird, or they will make this number of savings and get extra bonuses, they're more likely to buy. The other one is playing on fear. And the big obvious fear is FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh no, if I don't buy within this window of time, I'm going to have to pay full price, and I'm also going to miss out. Oh no. So playing on the fear of not having the latest iPhone or not keeping up with everybody else is a really powerful stress that can be leveraged in a positive way for businesses. And the last one is being aware of mindset and motivation. So there are 2 types of motivation for a consumer. One is if they have a fixed mindset, they're really traditionalist. They're like, I'm a patriot. I don't want things to change. I want things to go back to how they were before COVID hit us and change the world, right? They don't want to change. So the language that you use for someone with a fixed mindset is going to be very different to somebody with a growth mindset who wants to look at life experiences as learning opportunities rather than epic fail number 786. Okay, so be aware of the products and services you are selling and who you're selling them to and what motivates them to buy. Because if they're stuck and they don't like change, you are going to have to use very specific persuasive language to convince them, hey, this is how it used to be. This is why it's great. And if they're into growth, which is startup industry full stop, if they're about growth and change and evolution, they have a growth mindset. They are interested in change and transformation. So leverage that, and story helps you to do it. Okay, the next visual. There are 3 products or services that anyone sells, and you need to determine which one you sell because it does impact on the language you use in order to sell your product or service. So irrespective of your industry, your niche, your brand, you either sell a painkiller, a vitamin, or lollies, okay? And I'll talk you through what each of those do. So a painkiller literally is identifying somebody's pain and is providing an effective solution to that pain. So Nurofen, Panadeine Forte, obvious painkillers. But a tradesman is also a painkiller. So if I've blown out the kitchen sink has exploded, there's water everywhere, I'm having an absolute meltdown because, oh my God, everything's going wrong. And I ring a plumber and I say, you got to get here right now. My kitchen's just exploded. There's water everywhere. Can you help me? He's like, yeah, no worries. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And he fixes it, turns the water off, problem solved, okay? The plumber in this situation is also a painkiller. So painkilling products and services are the easiest to sell because they really clearly identify what the problem is and provide an effective, quick solution that takes the pain away for the customer, whatever that pain happens to be. The next section, the next product or service category is vitamins. And vitamins are like luxury goods. So they're really nice to have, but they're not necessary to survival. So we don't need them. And therefore, they're really difficult to sell because, well, I can put that off until next year. So, for example, as a writer, I would love to go, there's a writing retreat in New Orleans, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. I'd love to go to this writing retreat. However, it's X amount of dollars. It's really expensive, but it also falls in December, which is Christmas. And for me here in Australia, that's like when family are all gathering. It's just not the right time. So instead of going, stuff it, I want to go to this retreat in New Orleans and like get my gumbo on, I put it off because I'll do it next year. Surely it's available next year. Okay, so vitamins are products or services that can be put off and there's no urgency. Okay, I want to buy a Mustang. I'd love a Mustang. I love American muscle cars. However, I have a really functional car in my garage, so I don't need to update. So I would have to be compelled and given a really good reason to upgrade my current well-functioning car to a Mustang because it's a want, not a need. Okay, so vitamins are hard to sell. The last one is as easy to sell as painkillers, is lollies, okay? Because these are fun. They are products or services that are built around, let's have a good time. They play on addictive personalities but they're not necessarily good for you, okay? Hence lollies. I love the lolly aisle, particularly chocolate. My doctor told me I'm not supposed to eat dairy anymore. That's a travesty, but anyway, got a cough, hang on. Anywho, another example of lollies is anything that's addictive. Video games, addictive. TikTok, addictive, right? It's awesome. You have a great time when you're on it, but you also lose 5 hours of your life and you don't know where it went. A winery tour, awesome. Have a great time with your friends. Do some stupid things that, hey, YOLO, you only live once, all that. but then you wake up with a hangover the next day. So products that fall into the lollies category are easy to sell, but they don't necessarily provide life-sustaining, life-giving qualities the same way a vitamin or a painkiller will. So you need to be aware of where your product or service falls in those three categories, because it will significantly impact on the stories that you tell and how you brand and market your content. So these are the, you might want to screenshot this, these questions. These are the key questions you need to have in the back of your mind as you are putting together your brand story. So you need to think about, obviously, what does your brand do? But who are you serving? Who is your dream client? Who are you there to produce content for? If the nanas, the pearl clutches are your game, your language choices are going to be very different to 30 and 40 somethings that love watching creepy Netflix shows like Dharma, right? You're not going to use the same language because it will repel one or make the others roll their eyes. Dude is not a word you use with the nana gang. So be aware of your language choices and who you're trying to serve. Also, if you can position yourself as a painkiller, identify really clearly what the problem is that you're solving and what solution you use to solve that problem, you make it so much easier to sell your products and services. And you always conclude with a call to action, a CTA button. You give them an action to take. So you've outlined, this is your problem. This is my solution. This is how I can help you. And this is why I'm the service that you want to work with. And then you give them a CTA button. Contact me now, book a free call, subscribe to my newsletter. So you give them a way to opt in, give their email address, give their contact details so you can follow up with them. If you're stuck and you're like, oh, I kind of know what my brand does, but I'm not quite sure how I serve the people that I serve, this is a really useful question to help you unpack that. So whenever any of my clients get stuck, I pull out the magic wand question. I'm like, if you could wave a magic wand and make your dream client's biggest challenge just go away, what would the challenge be that you made disappear? So it's helpful. I just want to emphasize the most important part of your story should be the value that you provide. So give, then ask. Give, then ask. Okay, so you're providing value over and over again. So for each 5 pieces of value you offer, you might only have one ask. Brene Brown says it really simply. One day you will tell your story of how you overcame what you went through, and it will be somebody else's survival guide. So think about how you can leverage your own experience in your business, in your niche, building your brand, starting your startup. Think about the challenges that you've been through and how you can leverage that so that the next person doesn't have to experience the same pains you did. You can guide them through another way. So I just really like that quote for that reason. Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through the importance of the way you share your story and why it's important to emphasize the value you offer. So when I first started this business way back in the start of the year, it's been in the back of the head for a long time, and I was doing it a little bit on the side when I was still working for a corporate job, but I haven't gone full bore until this January just gone. But when people said, oh, so what is it you do? I used to say, oh, I'm a copywriter. And then I'd just get all these blank stares like, oh, is that like, they get it confused with the C, the copyright symbol. And they're like, oh, so you write legal documents and stuff? No, I'm a writer. But the reason that answer of I'm a copywriter, I'm a startup founder, I'm a software engineer, I'm a business coach, the reason those answers are not great is because they shut the conversation down. So they either expect the other person to then ask another question and draw it out of you, or they assume that they know what that thing is, and then they feel a little bit dumb about asking questions in case they've never heard of a copywriter, and they go, Oh, yeah, that sounds cool. Your conversation can't go anywhere. You can't have a meaningful connection if they don't know what it is. So instead, and I would suggest you use this for your pitch if you're creating a pitch deck or if you are pitching to investors, use these 5 steps to draw out and elaborate upon your experience and what it is you actually do. So the first thing you should do is highlight the value that you offer. Then you explain your breadth of skills and expertise, your authority in your industry. You outline why you're qualified to do what you do through your experience or through a series of trial and error. You talk about how you give solutions to your ideal clients, and then you explain the structures that you use to do that. So my post on LinkedIn today is about this, and it's much simpler. But I've also given you here, this is my pitch. What I would say if somebody asked me, so Kate, what is it you do? I used to roll my eyes at those questions because I felt like I was speed dating or Joey Tribbiani was chatting me up at a bar. How you doing? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm a naturopath. I just used to make stuff up because I didn't want to answer the question. But now I want to answer the question because I want to work with people and provide them with value. So I start by saying, oh yeah, I help businesses to embed powerful communication strategies so that they can scale with clarity. And then the person might go, oh, interesting, tell me more. And I go, well, I specialize in teaching clients how to build and maintain business relationships, how to develop captivating stories, how to leverage growth, and how to use really clear and consistent messaging. Okay, so you don't have to use all of these in order. You can just use sound bites one at a time or litter them through a pitch. My why, and that's really integral to identify your why. My why is a story of transformation. Essentially, I'm an example to other startups and founders of what's possible for newly emerging business owners because I've been there, done that. I've done all the hard work and I'm trying to make it easier for other people in the same industry. The how, this goes back to my evidence-based practice and my analytical nature as a writer, is I do a deep dive. I go down the rabbit hole. I love getting stuck in the matrix. I go wandering and I explore all the pathways. I research, I experiment, I look at success. I don't see failure as failure. I see it as an opportunity to explore, well, how could we have done that differently? And then I use all my findings to inform my clients and help them with structures that they can employ that actually work for them. And they're like, oh, cool. But how? Well, exactly how do you do that if they get all nitty gritty? Okay, well, through a combination of simple frameworks, step-by-step strategies, story-focused structures, layered with clarity, and a little bit of humor dolloped on the side, I try to lead with radical empathy. And essentially, I'm a communications advisor and a business coach. Oh, yeah, cool. But if I'd opened with, oh, I'm a copywriter or I'm a communications advisor, that shuts everything down. People go, oh, cool. Nigel, can you pass us the brie over there, please? Sorry, I don't know why I started talking about brie. Maybe because I'm not allowed to eat dairy. Anywho, so that's an example of how you can lay it out. All right, so lots of structure, but take what you want from it. As long as you are emphasizing the value that you offer to people, it will expand your network. All right, so the goal of today is to help you to develop a really powerful story that captures the attention of your ideal audience and also that reiterates the opportunity for change, because neurologically we are hardwired to be interested in change. So there's a book called The Science of Storytelling, word nerds like me love it, by Will Storr, and it's about how our brains are addicted or intrigued by story. So if we're walking down the street and we hear a car backfire, it changes our environment. So we turn around, we look because something in our environment has changed. That's not a meaningful change, but they happen all the time. Things capture our attention. We hear someone call out a name that we think is our name. We turn around. Oh no, they're talking to their kid in the supermarket. Cool. That could have been awkward, me saying hello to someone that wasn't actually talking to me. These are changes that aren't necessarily important, but we are hardwired and intrigued by an opportunity for a shift. So if you can highlight that for your audience and hint at transformation, you capture them, you hook them with a really powerful story. So I used to teach kids how to write. I was an English teacher for a really long time. And the difficulty that I had was that they used to always start the story at the beginning. And, you know, it could be in the most interesting topic in the world, like tell me about the most powerful day in your life, right? Most important thing that's ever happened to you. And usually teaching all boys, it was, oh, I single-handedly won the footy game, man. Oh, I was the best. I was so good. I kicked the winning goal and I stopped the opposition from scoring because I was able to be a fullback at the same time. I'm like, cool, bro. Anywho, they tell me about waking up, eating their cornflakes, talking to mum, driving to the football game. None of that information matters. If they started with the siren had blown and I'm holding the ball, it's now or never. I'm going to make this shot, or the team are not going to talk to me. Then I'm intrigued. Okay. So you start with the tipping point. You start with the middle of the story, and then you go from there. You've got to hint at change. The really obvious one is in Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare, the Baz Luhrmann version with Leo and Claire Danes at the end. And she's not dead, but he's in the chapel and he's trying to like kiss her goodbye and he's about to drink his poison. We can all see her hand move like she's about to wake up, and you're screaming at the TV, or maybe that's just me, going, look at her, she's about to wake up. And then he drinks the poison anyway, and he dies and she dies. We know it's going to happen, but we try to change it. We don't want things to turn out a particular way. So hint at the transformation, because it's what captures attention. The easiest way for me to remember it is the Sam Cooke song, A Change Is Going to Come. That song always reminds me of the hope that we have when there is an opportunity for change. It's really exciting. It gives us the idea that things are going to be different. So you're not targeting the existing client, you're targeting their future self. Okay. And in Medias Res, I'm sorry if you speak Latin, I just murdered that phrase, but it means in the middle of things. So start in the middle of things, hook them in with the meat of the story, the most important thing that is going to offer them a change and a transformation. So you're selling the ideal version of the future to your dream client, rather than this is what your life looks like now. Okay. What's it going to look like when these changes have occurred, when you have experienced transformation? How are we doing for time? Ooh, I'm going to have to talk real fast. Sorry, guys. Okay, so there are 4 archetypes that we use when we are building a brand persona. And so this is you as a brand owner rather than you as an individual identity walking down the street. But I want you to think about which one resonates most with you. So any brand worth their weight employs a particular persona, and they consistently embed that persona throughout all of their content. So you might be a shepherd where you look after your flock and you nurture and you mother them and walk along with them. You might be the seeker where you go out as a lone wolf and you find the answers and you report back. You might be the detective who is really into analysis and breaks down the details, the evidence, crunches the data, and then feeds back to project growth. Or you might be the knight who has been through it all themselves, who's experienced the battle and is able to unpack it with the client from a, hey, I've been there, I get it, point of view. So I won't go over this in too much depth right now, but just be aware that this is a good slide to screenshot, obviously, but these are the differences between each of the personas. So the shepherd is the guide that is there every step of the way. They are the step-by-step. Hey, I'm going to hold your hand. You don't have to do this on your own. They're that brand persona. The seeker, the searcher, the seeker, they go out on their own and they feed it back. So they explore and they're an introvert. They like to prone to existential crisis perhaps, but they like to do the work on their own and then feed back to the community. The detective is Dexter, the blood spatter expert that loves the numbers and the detail and unpacking it so that they can work out, well, what are you projected to make based on this data? And then the warrior, that persona is, I associate with like mental health and wellbeing coaches, that space, because they're not saying, hey, you don't have a battle ahead of you. But they may have been a cancer survivor, for example, or struggled with mental health themselves. And then they're saying to new patients or newly diagnosed people with these major health issues, hey, it is going to be hard, but buckle up, buttercup. I'm going to be here with you and I'm going to champion you on. So we can do this together. Well, can't guarantee you success, but we'll do it together, okay? So think about which persona resonates with you, because you need to embed that in your copy for your brand. Now, I know I've said you need to be the hero in your own story, but when you are building a powerful brand, you need to put your customer in the role of as hero. You cannot have a successful business if you as the brand owner are the hero, okay? So this is a structure. It's pre-Shakespeare, but it's a character archetype that has been popularized more recently by Donald Miller. So Donald Miller has a really great podcast, and he has a series of books, one of which is How to Build a Story Brand, and he details this journey. So I'll just talk you through it really, really quickly. This little guy over here taking selfies, he's the character, he's the customer, right? He's having a great time, living his best life. Life is going really well. And then, he's hit a road bump. Something has happened. He has encountered a really big challenge that he can't overcome. He doesn't know what to do. He's wandering around in circles, scratching his head. And then he stumbles upon the business owner, okay? And the business owner is standing on the treasure chest. And the business owner is like, well, I don't know why you're so upset. It's okay. I can help you. I have the solution that you need. What you need is a map. I'm going to show you how you can move forward. So the customer's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. He's like, you can do it. This is the path I would take. I'm not telling you you have to do that, but this is what's worked for me. So I would suggest that you go this way. So old mate, the customer is really excited now. He's like, woohoo, I've got a map. Now you need to know the map isn't the key. This isn't the thing that solves the problem for the customer, but it's the thing that compels the customer to take action, okay? So they then go on their journey with the guidance of the business, and they realize that to get to the finish line, they're either going to fail, the outcome could be unsuccessful, or they're going to succeed dramatically and transform, and their life's going to be amazing, right? They can't do that without the map. They can't do that without the guidance of the business. So if you are going to build a successful brand story, position your customer as the hero that we want them to win. We really want them to win. You're not the hero as the brand owner. You are the guide. You are the support that helps them to navigate their challenges. Okay, we're nearly in the home stretch, I think. Okay, so when you are looking at your content and the language that you are using, you really need to make sure that your language is customer-centric. So a brand-centric brand uses phrases like I, we, our, and us, okay? Here at Billy Bunting's, we love a bargain. Our motto is, come and see us, right? That's brand-centric, and that's very egocentric. It's all about me and my brand. And without being offensive, and maybe it is, but whatever, no one gives a shit. They don't. If you make it about them, then they give a shit, okay? So if you change the language to, you have been feeling XYZ, you are struggling with blah, blah, blah. You're in the right place if you are looking for. The term you makes the client feel like you are reaching through the screen and you are speaking to them directly. So have a look at your current content and check if the language is brand-centric or customer-centric. Also make sure that you list the benefits of your products and services rather than the features. Oh, it's got really cool buttons and a big screen. Okay, that's a feature, but see the world like you've never seen it before. That's a benefit, okay? So transition your language to benefit, and you don't have to do the work. It sells itself because people are invested in benefits because it's future focused. Also, think about your CTA buttons, your call to actions. Give them something to do so they come back, okay? Get them to join the community. Become part of the world with us. You are an important member of our team. Subscribe, connect, and use a verb at the start of your CTA. So join, subscribe, connect, because that verbs are really, really powerful in creating story. All right, we're nearly done. These are the key things that you need to be aware of when you're building a brand story. Make sure that you give your visitors something to think about. You want to intrigue them. That's the whole point, because change and transformation are triggered by intrigue. That's how our brains work. We are hardwired to go, interesting, what could be different if I work with these guys? Okay, again, focus on the mindset of the potential customer. Make them think a little bit differently. If they're like, wow, I've never had a person talk to me like this before, I like it, great. If they go, I'm offended, awesome, because they're not your person, okay? Also, be aware of the language you use around your CTAs, your calls to action. Buy now is a directive, and we shy away from that. The conversion rates for buy now buttons have dramatically dropped because it seems like an order. If you want to buy now, right? As opposed to add to cart. Add to cart gives the idea of choice. Oh, I don't have to buy it. And as a business owner, I can follow up. If they've abandoned the cart, I can send them a message and say, oh, hey, I noticed you put this in your cart. Don't you want it anymore? Why not? Okay, so add to cart is much more effective in converting than buy now. Make sure your story is worthy of their time. Give them something that they're going to walk away with and go, that was badass. I loved reading about that. That was a really good story. And also highlight who you are as a person. Like, show that you're actually a brand with people behind you, as opposed to the bots and the AI have produced all of this. And it's, it reeks of robot, not human. Okay. So that's where we want to be. All right. In order to work with me, you've got 3 ways to make contact with me. My preferred platform at the moment is LinkedIn. I am toying with the idea of trying it out on TikTok, but I don't know. I don't know if I can do it to myself, but I know I probably should. Anyway, but at the moment, LinkedIn's the easiest way to get onto me, as well as my email address. I have, if you want to screenshot, these are the freebies that you get for participating in this session. You can book a live, a 30-minute meeting with me for free. We sit down, I call it a virtual coffee, because it's all about, let's sit down and have a cuppa and talk about it. How can I help you? There's also my ebook there, which is the top 5 website mistakes small businesses make and how you can avoid them. And I'm also running a boot camp in January, and there's a wait list available now if you are interested in doing a 10-week fully guided course with me about all the things you need in place to use story to leverage your business and make it go boom. Anywho, I'm going to call for Q&A, hot seat. Anyone got any questions? Anything you need to ask me? I can see the chat's going off. Come join me on TikTok.
That was a great session, Kate. So the first question, are you going to share the slides?
I can do that.
Good. That you make a lot of people happy by doing that. I can
tell you
that.
I'm actually going to sell a version of this on my website for $97 US. So yes, for the Silicon Beach community, you can have it for free.
So we will send out a follow-up email with all the links and the slide deck. Cool. That's amazing. And the recording will be shared on our YouTube channel, and you can watch that there in a couple of days, probably.
Mm-hmm.
One more question, the 4 personas, the shepherd from Bea. Bea, do you want to ask your questions yourself?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I was just wondering about the personas to see if there can be a blend, or if it must be, if you must pick one particular persona in particular. Yeah.
No, you don't. The beauty of the archetypes is there's about 35 archetypes all up, but these are the 4 that are most prominent, and lots of brands use hybrids. So some of my clients at the moment have said that they particularly resonated with the shepherd and the warrior, the knight, because they're not in the mental health industry, but they're like, I've been through the struggle, and I want to walk side by side with them and go back into the danger zone with my clients and support them along the way. So yeah, hybrid's fine.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Kate, and thanks for a great presentation.
No problem.
Kate.
Hello.
Yeah. The role of video. How do you see that playing into this?
Video's huge. I would actively encourage you to, well, blogging is my preference, because you can then cut a blog into 10 different types of media, one of which could be a soundbite and using as video. But I am, as a writer, I'm offended by video, because I'm like, oh, but words are so beautiful. But I also see that it's an unstoppable beast. TikTok has proven that. And all of the other platforms that are trying to keep up, they see the same thing. Video is essential.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
A quick question. If you have drugs and lollies to sell, painkillers and lollies, which one do you push more?
Well, the painkillers are easier to sell high ticket, and as in you can put a high price tag on painkillers because it's a necessity for people, like they don't want to be in pain. It's a coaching service or a product that is, it's high end. It's a more valuable and higher priced item, whereas lollies are more, I would suggest, so if you had an Etsy store or Amazon and you're selling products under $100, they could fall into the lolly category. So it's not necessarily a preference. It's just making sure that what your prices fit in with that particular product or service.
Ashish, did I see your hand raised?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just making my website now, Kate, and with the question about video, I'm thinking of putting a video on there, but do I have to do the whole thing in text too? So if people find the video too long, they don't want to watch a video, they can read the whole website on the kind of the text version of it?
Yeah, your written version is really useful for SEO. So if you've got your keywords plugged in, Google can find you, and the search engines can crawl your site, whereas it's much more difficult to do that with video. Using video is really helpful. I haven't done it yet on my website, but using video is really, really helpful in making sure that you're being inclusive. So lots of people can access your resources, whether they've got, even if they have literacy issues, if they can't read and write very well, video is really, really helpful in knocking that barrier out of the park. So I would absolutely encourage you to use video under 90 seconds to make sure it's short, sharp, and straight to the point.
Okay, thanks.
Steve.
Thanks. Hi, Kate. What if you've got a product that is really a pain killer, but people aren't familiar with it and they aren't not sure that it'll solve the problem, so they think it might be a vitamin that may or may not work? How do you kind of address it?
I would make sure that you've got a really long form sales page set up. so that you can direct traffic there. So you might have, say, short videos, 30-second videos that spotlight your product. But then when you've got a long form sales page, you've got, this is the product for you if, and then you can tick off the characteristics for ideal clients, or this is not for you if, blah, 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 if you can't afford the price point or whatnot. But payment plans make it easier to overcome that barrier as well. So testimonials are great as well because they help to overcome objections, but they also clarify with social proof that, oh, this is the kind of client that is buying this product and this works for them, so it will work for me because I see myself like that person.
Yeah, okay. Great, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you. Mark, do you want to ask your question yourself?
Sure, thank you. Thanks very much, Kate, for your time. It was fantastic. I felt like a lot of the ideas you presented could also apply in terms of building a personal brand. Are there any sort of variations to what you've spoken about there that would apply in that space?
No, this is a hybrid. It is any form of branding, any product or service you're selling. So if you are selling yourself as a personal brand, you still need to be really clear on your messaging. And I would use the learnings from this particular session. I would use those as the takeaways for your own branding as well, brand building, personal brand building.
Thank you.
We have a comment here from Jim Lures replying to Ashish, probably. The average user spends 88% more time on a website with a video. So that's good for your SEO as well, isn't it?
It's great for your SEO. You need to make sure you've got your meta description and your title tags sorted as well. So the back end stuff, which is not my specialty, that's probably yours, David. That needs to be really targeted so that you are getting the right traffic to your page, because having people turn up on your page is awesome, but if they're not clients that need or want your products or services, then those numbers aren't really relevant. So making sure that they can clarify if you're right for them or not straight away with a video. Hey, this is who I serve, this is what I do, and this is how I can help you. This is the problem I solve, and this is how I achieve it, using that 5-step structure I showed you with the pitching. That's a really, really easy way to script a video to put on the front of your landing page. My only suggestion would be that your video, you have to click it to play it, because if it automatically plays, you have that sensory overload issue of, okay, I've landed on a website, but am I supposed to be reading the words? Am I supposed to be clicking a button, or am I supposed to be watching and listening? So you want to make sure that they opt in to the video by clicking on a button that plays the video, because movement on the screen behind words straight away creates sensory overload and people, they leave. So give them choice.
Awesome. That was a great session with and a great show up on people. So you really hit the nerve. So thank you very much, Kate, for that. If you're happy to stay longer and people do have more questions, we can keep going. Otherwise, the hour is over, and it was one of the shortest hours of the week, I would say, so far.
Except for the porpoise making an appearance every now and then.
Thank you so much. So we stopped the recording.